We live in a society where men are getting weaker and weaker with the day, and this goes hand in hand with depression and bad mental health. If we look at the numbers, we can see that every previous year, when men were getting weaker, also suicides by men were getting more frequent every single year. So it's a huge problem and it needs to be fixed as soon as possible. It's time to take back control over your own life and start changing those bad habits that destroy your mental health into good habits that improve your life so you can start living a life full of meaning again. The first and in my opinion the most important and the biggest reason why men today are getting more and more weak is the change from more masculine energy into more and more feminine energy. I'm not talking about homosexuality because I would even argue that some homosexual men are even more masculine than heterosexual men today. It has nothing to do with sexual preference, it has everything to do with the meaning to be a man, a masculine man. If you look at history, throughout history our ancestors have always been forced to be masculine men. Our caveman ancestors, they were big, they were muscular, and if you look at their behavior, they were out hunting all day, every single day, because if they didn't hunt, they would have no food for the night. If you move further up the timeline and we go to the era of the ancient Greece and the ancient Rome, they were not hunting anymore because they had access to food, but instead they were fighting. They were fighting like real warriors. They were fighting to defend their country. They were fighting to defend their families. They would make sure that their families were safe. If you move even further up the timeline to the 1900s during the two world wars, our ancestors, they were still fighting like warriors to defend our country. And if they weren't fighting, if the wars were over or between the two wars, they were working all day long, every single day. They were working to make sure they could support their family financially. So if you look at what all these men in the past, in the history, had in common, one thing is really clear. All these men had a purpose in their life and they were doing everything they could to achieve this purpose. They were working every day really hard to achieve their purpose in their lives. And they were making sure they could support their families and they were making sure their children and their wives were safe. A masculine man is simply made to work. This is what gives us meaning in our lives. If we run from our work all day long and we just go do some short-term pleasure things all day long and we run from our work, we will always have a feeling deep inside, a feeling of betrayal. It doesn't matter how much pleasure we have at a given moment. If we are running away from our purpose, if we are not working towards our purpose at a given moment, we will always have a feeling of not being good enough, of not having done enough as a man. Unfortunately, more and more men are becoming more and more feminine, and this is a really big threat to our society and the reproduction of our species. We are actually entering a period in the timeline of hard times, and if you are not prepared for those hard times, you will just be destroyed as a man. I'm reading a book right now, it's called Hard Times Create Strong Men by Stefan Arnio, and I would suggest you start reading this book as soon as possible. It has everything you need to know to become a masculine man, everything you ever need to know in your life to be a man as written down in this book. So I would suggest you start reading this book as soon as possible because it's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. The second habit destroying your mental health as a man is watching porn. And this actually goes hand in hand with the first topic I talked about in this video. Men are becoming more and more feminine, and this actually has a consequence. They are just too shy and too scared to talk to women these days. So more and more men are staying single, and it's a really big problem. This leads to a higher use of porn to release their sexual tension because they just can't do it with women anymore. But why is pornography actually so bad? The reason is because porn overstimulates your dopamine receptors in your brain, and this actually makes you not appreciate the little things in life anymore. You are not interested in the more important things in your life. Porn releases so much dopamine at one time that the other little things, the more important things in your life, like a good talk with your friends or a walk in nature, they don't interest you anymore. Those activities actually seem really boring to you. And you will always want more and more exposure to porn because you need this dopamine release. It actually looks like the behavior of a drug or a alcohol addict, and that's why watching porn is so addictive and so destroying for your mental health. The third habit destroying your mental health as a man is scrolling through social media. The same reason as porn actually applies for this one. It releases too much dopamine at one time and it's too addicting. It's just too addicting and you will lose the interest in the smaller and the more important things in your life. Also, everything you see on social media is fake bullshit. The people you see living their dream lives, at least that's what they want you to believe, those people, they are actually miserable in real life. Don't believe anything you see online. No one is perfect, life is not perfect. So stop spending hours and hours scrolling on those social media platforms and spend this time on working towards your purpose as a real masculine man. The fourth bad habit destroying your mental health as a man is playing video games. Now, this is going to upset a lot of you guys, so before you start crying and complaining to me, listen to me. I'm a big video gamer myself. At least I was. I was playing hours and hours of video games every single day, and I had nothing else in my life that I would like to accomplish at that time. And this is the problem I want you to understand. Playing video games itself is actually, there is no harm in playing video games. The problem is that video games give you a fake sense of achievement. It makes your brain think like you are working really hard towards your goals in real life, so it starts releasing dopamine just like it would if you were working towards your real goals in life. So because your brain releases dopamine playing video games, you want to play more video games to get the same release of dopamine, just like the addictive behavior of social media scrolling and porn addiction we talked about. And that's why video games are also super addictive. If you actually could take the same ambition, the same energy and the same effort you put into those video games to achieve the highest level possible in that video game, if you can take all this effort and ambition and motivation and you can put it towards working towards your purpose as a man, your work in real life, I guarantee you will have achieved more in 1 year than other people, 99% of people will achieve in 20 years of their lives. You have the drive inside of you, you have the effort and the ambition inside of you. You just need to take it from video games into real life, into your work as a real masculine man. The fifth reason why your mental health is in a bad state is because you are a lazy fuck who is not working out at all. As a masculine man, we are made to have some kind of physical activity in our daily lives. Throughout the day, we tend to actually gather up a lot of frustrations, and if we don't have any physical activity and no way to blow off steam, we will go crazy. Physical activity and especially weightlifting is a great way to lose all these frustrations and actually relax as a person in your daily life. And besides that, you will also become way more confident because you are actually working on your body and you are actually building a nice muscular body. And the last habit destroying your mental health is that you don't have a routine in your daily life. We as humans, we are made to have routines in our lives. Our brains are made to think as little as possible about repeated tasks so we can spare energy for the more important and more bigger tasks in our lives. Just look at driving a car. When you first start driving a car, you have to think about 100 things at once. But after a couple of months of driving this car, you don't have to think about anything at all. You just can drive the car and it almost looks automatically. If you don't have a routine in your daily life, your brain needs to think about everything you do on a daily basis and you won't have energy to spend towards achieving your purpose as a masculine man. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you got some value out of this video, and as always, stay strong.